Good Monday morning. After a weekend where Saturday we took off to do some volunteer work. Here's the status inside. We're done. We've got paint on. Need the second coat of paint. And then if you look closely, all the measurements have been taken for where the ports are going to be. And I think you guys can see these little holes. There you go. Those are the pilot holes for the 4.5 inch hole saw, which will cut the 2 1/4 radiuses around all these rectangle windows. So now they're in effect marked on the outside. Let's go out there because we want to make the cuts from the outside. They'll be in the right place inside. You can see the holes translating out here, and this drawing shows roughly where the port's going to be. Okay, didn't get quite finished yesterday because you can see one more round of fairing compound. Found a few little things. But I want to get this primered and possibly painted before we make the cuts. Just so there's not so much painting while the holes are open. Plus it is so cold that I don't really want holes in the boat right now. Okay, let's talk about the engine. That's how the motor is where it sits now. We'll go down and take a look at that. What's handy is with the boom I can lift the engine on and off by myself. It weighs 108 pounds. It's a 2-cylinder Suzuki, 20 horse, fuel injected, 4-stroke. Great motor for our application. So we finally got the right propeller on it. It's a 4-blade, 7-pitch, 10-inch prop. This is the motors. It's been the mount all along. This thing swings. When it's down, it notches in here, and when it's up, the motor comes up to the bar. So it works. Takes a lot of water splashing when we're sailing on certain sea states, so the motor's been subjected to too much spray. So one option was just to build fairings around this thing, but that still doesn't solve one of the big objectives, which is getting motor steering. If we put the motor back here, we can tie to the rudder and be able to steer the engine when we're going slowly in harbors and things under power. So this is the goal. So here it is before any cutting is happening. What we need is for a new transom basically to be, so I can hold it in roughly the right place, right about here. And if it's out here, it's going to give clearance for the rudder, it won't hit, and we got to have room for the power head to tilt in right here. So today we're going to cut, unfortunately, this part. This notch of the hull has to come off. This is going to be the front face of the motor box. It's going to come out something like this. So last night drew it all up. So the gudgeon tower is this thing. Deck step is this here. So this box is going to come out. I'm giving myself, we're going to use the carbon fiber panel that we have on 3 sides. This will be the back side of the box. This is the new transom. It's already, well, I'll show you in a second. It's this piece of wood I've made already for here. And I was thinking about all of my fabric layups. So unidirectional carbon pieces wrapped with 1708 double bias glass, CSM back glass, and how we're going to do glass under the fillets and then over the top of the fillets. So this thing's going to be, has to be super strong right here to deal with all this force. So chopping the boat, which is doesn't feel good, but needs to be done. And this is the piece I made up at home to be transom. It's plywood, it's tight ply, glass in between. Made it really big, so we didn't know exactly what size it'll end up. And radar tower thing. This thing's ready for paint. It's just, again, so cold, only like 44 degrees right now. Can't paint quite yet. Hoping, well, the weather's supposed to get back to 70 degrees by tomorrow. There's the rudder, got a little primer on it. Okay, that's it for now. On to cutting. This is a really tricky cut because it's not a right angle between the side of the hull and the swim step back there. So it was flying blind here with the small oscillating tool, but it worked out okay. Okay, we got our plan. We opened up the back of the boat this morning. It was gruesome to make the cut in the hull, but at least it smelled nice with the Western Red Cedar. Here's the cool thing about Raven's Wing. You see that, that, and that, and that, and that. Zoom in. These are tongue and grooves. The lower half of the main hull is all tongue and grooved, which makes her super stiff and strong. Okay, so if that's the place where the motor is going to go, now here's the beginning of what's going to be there. So my hand is the engine. This is the transom that the motor is going to grab to. And the carbon plate's going to be the new back deck there, and sides. There'll be another side over here. So see how this is going to fit. See how the piece is fitting in there. So I think we're going to build it with the two sides. We're going to get this bonded on, and then we can work on the right side here. I'll bring the engine over, hopefully on a hoist here, and hang it right about where my left hand is, so we can get a sense of the tilt. This is all laid out here so that this is as far over as the rudder cassette goes. It should clear the engine if I did all the math right, but we're going to try to mock it up live with the motor before we actually commit to making the cuts on this side. And over here we're going to have to figure out some kind of fairing. We'll see. Stay tuned. But good progress in the morning, the first day attacking this. Time for lunch. Here's step one, gluing the black plate down over the existing swim step. That lime green peel ply is just over the raw fillet. Good morning, good people. Wednesday morning. Okay, how are we doing on the engine? That's the original mount. It's all disassembled, ready to come off. And here we go. Had to make this cut on the back of the boat. Took like a week to get the courage to do that. Felt wrong. We've got the carbon foam plate, transom, actual motor mount, and plywood. More glassing to do. And how it's fitting underneath. So today's work, well, first we'll show you what we've done so far. Here, this is peel ply. If you guys don't know about peel ply, it's just ripstop nylon basically, and it helps. You put it over your wet fiberglass or carbon, and you roll it and squeegee and smooth out all the air bubbles and get your fabric to lie down nicely. So this sort of gross level looking stuff is 1708, which is 17 ounce double bias glass and 8 ounce per yard chopped strand mat backing. Super beefy. So this is big tabbing all through here. And we're wrapping some more of the carbon plate around the gudgeon. And a little bit of carbon double bias under here. But today's task is we're gonna go from this point out and basically extend the hull to meet the box and give us this basically a one-shot plane to go with unidirectional. And it took pretty much the entire afternoon to get these wedge pieces templated out and cut up. Each one was unique, so it's very much a fiddly handwork job. Came out pretty good though once I glued them all together. I'm just trying to find the shape underneath here. I know it's locked away inside this foam and coating. This is the part that goes against the boat. Yeah, I think I got the twist worked out. Running down this side here. Just trying to shape, get rid of these corners. So come down and use this tool here. Taking little tiny bites so we don't cut too much. How are you doing? Getting there. I like this side and the left. Okay, let's keep going on these stair steps. Okay, I think we found our shape. Goes right there. Look at it under here. Meets up nicely. This is great. We're gonna have to add more here, but we need to know how wide this is gonna be. We gotta hang the motor first until we can tell that. Look at all these twists. Pretty crazy. I'm gonna glue it on far out. Okay, it's Friday morning, day 13 of Operation Major Upgrades. I thought I was going to be cutting the windows out this morning, but if I zoom in, you can see not quite done on final paint prep. A little bit there. Just doing this sanding and found there's another one. So sadly, we got to do one more pass of all fair. Probably half a dozen between this and the other side, so we'll get that done today, and more primer back on. Sand the primer in the morning. With it primed, we'll get the windows going, then paint it all white, and after that be able to come back and mask off and paint the black stripe, and with that we'll be able to install the ports. Okay. This has been all prepped, ready to go for paint, primered. Those were the repairs we made at Puerto back in September. Or the upgrade of the main sheet base, added all this carbon gusseting and support, and repaired some hull damage where it had pulled away. The radar tower got put on last night, so that's much sleeker than the old extra wing over here. No fasteners, no metal's the goal, so that's just a little bit of some tube. Add another one here. Those are for holding wires. So the way we're doing this is that's 1708 glass, just with the L. Now I'll put in a nice big fillet here, and then do another layer of glass over the fillet to create a super strong joint. And let's go check out the underside of the motor mount. See how that thing came out. Really happy with the shape. You can see the curve matching to the hull. All these twists, pretty interesting. A little bit of damage with the digging too deep with the oscillating saw, but we'll fill that in before we get the carbon uni on this. So carbon unidirectional coming this way, create like an L bracket of support. That's today's job. Okay, that's the update. Okay, we are very excited this morning because the motor mount is working. Give it a tilt. Just the right clearance. Got to figure out where the cable routing is going to go. Thinking up here through the back. Now with it in position, you can see we're going to cut a little bit off, and we're going to build the rest of this right here to connect and put this side on. No problem with the rudder. Got enough clearance here. And then we'll show you steering. Steering will be an arm right out here connecting to the back of the rudder, and they'll do something like this. They'll go together like that, and then like this. So I've got to get the geometry right. Basically I need to put the same length of the pivot from here to here as the pivot from here to here. If you do that geometry, then we'll have a tube with a rope in it. Pull it tight, it'll be connected. Slack the rope off, and the tube will just hang down here somewhere. Okay, that's the plan. We're very excited this morning. Let's get to work finishing it off. And I keep eating cereal because those boxes make great templates. Okay, so here we are using thin ply door skins, bent and sort of tortured into shape to get the curve that we want for the 1/4 inch foam core. And we're going to double up that foam core, but first we got to get it wrapped into the right position, the right curve, and glass it in to get the shape right. And anything goes when you're working solo and far from home. Just grab whatever you can find to lend a helping hand. Okay, we have to move because this boat's coming out before we go back in the water. Nice to get this done before I go home for Christmas. That is a big travel lift. It handles big ones. I get the pleasure of having Salvador Sr., the primary owner of the yard, drive the travel lift today. His operator slight scheduling misunderstanding is that man has a first communion for his daughter. So the boss is driving Raven's Wing. Ooh, hope I don't pin my truck in. Plenty of room. See this little red flag? That's where they're supposed to lift from. But I let them move back because the boat was sitting on stands right at the mark, but for this short move. And I know how the tabbing inside there is spread out anyway, so it's super strong either side of the lift point. And then we're going to do something different. For the first time I want to put her down resting in the middle of the beams, and we'll leave the all the hulls unsupported for painting. We'll just set some temporary ones in there. Okay, we still have a couple days before driving home for Christmas, so next time we're going to hustle and get the most out of the weekend, the final weekend in Puerto Penasco, this trip. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already, so you'll know when the next one comes out, since I'm sporadic about when I post these up. Thank you.